2024 has come and seemingly gone as soon as it began. It was certainly a busy year for global events, and I wouldn't blame you for just wanting to shut off the world and put on some anime. And thankfully, this year, anime came to play. Anime just keeps continuing to soar in popularity for the better and for the worse. I still am getting used to how much of a global phenomenon it's become. School friends who never had any interest in animation will hit me up telling me they saw Dandadan. People who had never heard of a Crunchyroll will casually talk about discovering this random Japanese show on Netflix. My parents watched anime this year. The idea of being a pure anime fan feels like it's slowly getting phased out as anime just becomes another part of pop culture. But for those of us who still wear that mantle, what else was happening this year? For about 2 weeks, our community became obsessed with Deers, with the release of a song you'd last about 10 seconds in before realizing,
"Ladies and gentlemen, I think my brain just committed suicide."
After years of waiting, it looked like we were finally getting the first great Junji Ito adaptation. Uzumaki came out and smashed the curse by giving us an anime that did justice to his horrifying art. It was disturbing, it was unnerving. This is it, the run that's going to change everything. We're gonna do it, and there comes episode 2. Frieren became a cultural phenomenon, popularizing the phrase, "That's what Himmel the hero would have done," inspiring people so much that someone quoted him after stopping a real knife attack, in a rare case of a Frieren fan doing something outside of posting Yubel's armpits. Demon Slayer laid the groundwork for its final arc by having his big bad Muzan take 5 business days to walk to his destination. Fans seem to be split on whether this scene was pure badassery or just over the top silly. I'm just saying, if they really wanted their villain to have unmatched aura, they should have just fully committed to the Bollywood way of introducing their characters. It felt like a truck full of massive manga came to the end of their serialization, which included 2 mega hits in My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen. I didn't read them, but I can say from experience that historically speaking, when a long-running massive Shonen Jump manga ends, it's almost always met with unanimous praise and support, and this was no different.
"I think my brain just committed suicide."
Isekai became an official word in the Oxford English Dictionary, giving legitimacy to all the isekai trashmen out there. Following the news, the search was officially started to find exactly who Truck-kun's British cousin would be. Here he is now. And last, but certainly not least, we lost a legend this year in Akira Toriyama. I tried writing a longer segment for this, but nothing I wrote felt like it did justice to this man's legacy, so I'm gonna keep it short. He may not have been the mangaka that influenced me the most, but he is the mangaka that influenced the most people around the world. He inspired a generation of people, and his work will continue to inspire for many generations to come. And for that, what more can you say but thank you. This was a weird year to try and distill down when picking my best anime. To avoid any confusions, these videos aren't just meant to be a definitive shortlist of my favorites, but it's my favorites that I want to passionately share and talk about with you guys, and normally that's the vast majority. But it turns out that a lot of my favorite shows this year I don't have more than like 2 sentences to say, mainly because many of them have very recently been on previous year's list and they just continued doing what they were doing so well. So for the first time it felt right just to do some quick honorable mentions for the shows that helped define my year, even if I don't have much new to say. But before we get to that, I want to have a quick word about today's sponsor, Honkai Star Rail, a free-to-play sci-fi RPG from Hoyoverse with some of the most iconic characters they've ever made, such as Restless Vagrant. You idiot, we'll just steal off the miners. And right now is an exciting time for the game because a massive update is about to drop, because somehow it's already been a year since Penacony and a whole new world is coming. Amphorius is finally dropping as the new stop for the Trailblazers with new quests, areas and mechanics. And I am pumped because as someone who loved the Penacony arc, this looks like it's going to be living up to that insane quality. We've even been told that this time it's going to have a heartwarming story. A heartwarming story. I see no reason to doubt you, Hoyoverse. Of course, there's going to be new 5-star characters dropping too, starting with the Herta. Wait, Herta? The sassy lost tsundere of Star Rail? How the hell is she a 5-star now? Damn! Yes, the Ice Queen is here to take her crown, complete with her 5-star upgrade. But that's not all, because she's going to be joined by Aglia, a new 5-star lightning Greek beauty. But I know why you're really here. You don't care about me. You just want free stuff, don't you? Don't you? Well, right now there is a free 5-star selection event that will last until version 3.2. But wait, there's more. By by just logging in for 7 days, you can also get a free 10 pull. What, not enough? All right, a little greedy, aren't we? Well, here you go. Use the code on screen right now for 50 free Stellar Jades. There. Are you happy? Works every time. So, what are you waiting for? Click that link in the description to download Honkai Star Rail today. Thank you very much to Hoyoverse for sponsoring me today, and with that said, here are some of the honorable mentions. I actually really enjoyed this season of Oshinoko, maybe even more than the first season. This year, we shifted gears to spotlight the Japanese theater, resulting in some of the best episodes we've seen in the entire series, with some insane direction at times that truly made you feel like you were living an authentic theater experience. I'm kind of starting to think that this show is at its best when Aqua isn't the main focus and when it can highlight other people's emotional journey through the world of entertainment. There was some fantastic character writing here, and now that the manga has come to an end, I'm sure we all have a lot to look forward to in future seasons.
I think my brain just committed.
Mushoku Tensei diabolically dropped one of its best ever episodes on Father's Day, then preceded it in the most Mushoku Tensei style possible, leaving me with some mixed feelings. Not so much with the development, but more in the manner in which it was executed. For a series that historically has had no problem spending as much time as it needs exploring the complexities of human emotions, this one felt a bit out of sync. I still enjoyed it, but for the first time it left a bitter aftertaste in my mouth, and I'm not talking about whatever Roxy's been drinking. It was a delight to see the wacky chemistry between the Konosuba cast has not gotten boring at all. Demon Slayer was a 10 out of 10. For one episode. Before that, it was the weakest season so far, shown by the fact that IGN gave it a 3 out of 10 and didn't set the internet on fire. Even I think that's a little low, because surely this moment alone should bring it up a bit. Then there were the two juggernauts of last year, Apothecary Diaries and Frieren, continuing their amazing run from 2023 to 2024. I introduced my mum to Apothecary Diaries this year, thinking it'll occupy her for a good week, and I thought I liked watching anime until I walked in one day later and she looks at me in the eyes and goes, "It's done." That was too short. It was at this point I realized no matter how powerful I think I am, I can never hope to match the power level of Asian mums watching their soap operas. And while I preferred the first half of Frieren that aired last year, it still continued to be a stellar show, tournament arc and all. I know everyone's thirsting over this green-haired girl, but I gotta say, the old man won my heart. A mage of principle and respect, reminding us that you may be out of mana, but you ain't out of hands. Showing the young'uns how to truly pound people up. No diddy. Make no mistake, if this was a simple one-sentence list, both of these shows would have easily ended up in my top 5. And on the other end of the spectrum, there were other returning shows like My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia was once the golden child of shonen, carrying on the torch to a new generation of anime fans to a post-Big 3 era. People loved it. People couldn't stop talking about it. Then one day, it felt like everyone woke up and just went, "Yo, this shit boring." My Hero became the punching bag of jokes, while other titles rose up and grabbed the spotlight. And as time went on, it felt like those jokes turned into complaints, and then eventually those complaints turned into indifference. And while it felt like many people had given up on it, I quietly continued watching in hopes that one day it would remind me of why I loved the series in the first place. And this year, I remembered what it felt like to go plus fucking ultra. Feels like in the modern age of action shonen, a lot of us have forgotten the beating heart of what My Hero Academia truly excelled at. Its amazing attention to detail in its character writing and development. This is what has shined in these latest seasons, and on that playing field, only a few of its competitors can compete. However, if you come into this as another battle shonen anime, you can definitely feel it being left behind when compared to the plethora of modern action spectacles its contemporaries have been showing us. Take this fight. We have Fireman versus Ice Boy and friends. It's a 1 versus many brawl. Fireman blasts them with a super hot fire, immediately rendering the team useless, and punches Ice Boy, but Ice Boy has a technique that neutralizes his fire, because, you know, he's actually half fire, half ice, and then punches Fireman, but then Fireman brings out fire that's even hotter than his previous fire, so Ice Boy brings out his ultimate technique, an even colder super duper ice punch. It was at this point I realized I'm not watching an active brawl. I'm watching a turn-based battle on autoplay. I know this sounds like complaints, but this is all to say that if you are able to get past all that, when you can focus on its strengths, when you see all these character storylines collide, it is able to go places few other shonen action shows are able to, and this season was a non-stop barrage of that. Endeavor facing the mistakes of his parenting, Todoroki coming to terms with his family trauma, Bakugo turned into a sympathetic boy, Ochiko proves she's more than just a good girl, Himiko proving she's more than just a crazy girl, Deku stopped listening to My Chemical Romance, All Might, Hawks, Dabi, Ida. They made me hype seeing Gentle again. Gentle? Fucking what? This almost didn't feel like an action show. This felt like an epic soap opera where coincidentally people solve their conflicts by punching each other. It may not be doing what shonen action does best, but it is doing what My Hero Academia does best. Now, approaching the finish line to its legacy, it felt like My Hero has stood up for one last hurrah as it looked me dead in the eye and said, "Don't worry, kid." Sometimes you come across a show that gives absolutely zero fucks and condenses its entire being into achieving one objective: having fun. That is Brave Bang Bravern. This is what happens when you take the over-the-top ridiculous hype of Gurren Lagann, add a bit of tokusatsu, and crash land it into the manly bravado world of Top Gun. Don't make it about as straight as it too. It is a non-stop, glorious celebration of the best parts you can find in the mecha genre, then throws logic out the window and amps everything up to 11. Cheesy speeches, fusion scenes, old school theme songs that will grow your beard 5 inches. It takes all of them, then proudly throws them in your face. Oh, what was that? Yes, because you know what? Subtext is for cowards. It doesn't care if you get it or not because it's here to do its own thing. If you ask, why does a mecha have a function where it plays its theme song and projects its own background screen? Why is the US military trying to waterboard a giant robot? Why does the protagonist have karaoke subtitles so he can nail the speech during heroic moments? It'll look at you dead in the eye and say, fuck you because this is Bravern. BRAVGWBGWBBWGGGWBBW. What does that spell? It's a treat when you watch a show where you can tell every single person working on it was having a blast, and you get infected with that same joy. This is the shitpost of mecha, the YouTube poop of super robots. Forget a no bullshit show, this is an all bullshit show and is damn proud of it. It's a show that fully commits to hitting every single emotional beat it needs to, then takes one step back and laughs at itself.
Come on, wake up! こんな時だったのにお盛んだね。バカね。私たちもでしょ。
If you're still unsure about the appeal of mecha, if you're unsure of what makes super robots great, give this one a watch. This isn't just a love letter to the mecha genre, this will make you fall in love with mecha. You know, figuratively speaking. Here? No. Here? No. Just hear me out. No. Like many other people, watching anime can be my escape from reality, a place where you can enter a whole new world with stories that have absolutely no relation to the life you're living right now. So, what could be further from reality than a sci-fi show about alien invaders and the end of the world itself? It's the dreariest apocalypse of all time where the world is going through an unprecedented global event. Misinformation, conspiracy theories, and finger-pointing have spread like wildfire on social media. Friendships are lost on where people stand with the issue of these aliens. Protests begin. Public trust is at an all-time low. The only thing that everyone can agree on is that nobody can agree on what to do next. Politicians prioritize the economy over anything else. More and more it feels like there isn't a single competent person left in a position of power, and in between all that, the series asks, what does it feel like to be a teenager? Trying your best to grasp a sense of normalcy after living through major historical event after major historical event. This was the realest anime of 2024. Dead demons. Destructions takes a different approach to the First Contact story. This isn't about an invasion. This isn't about communication. This is about people feeling absolutely lost, trying to cope with a world that seems to be crumbling around them. It's a cynical, biting look at life that sometimes felt a little bit too uncomfortably reminiscent to reality, showing us that even during an apocalypse, life has to and will go on. But there is hope, cause even during a chaotic time with aliens, spaceships, and sci-fi laser weapons, only then can the true heroes of society emerge.
お前もそろそろしっかりしてほしいよ。父さん、SNS にはびこる私意識高いですアピールを繰り返す勘違い野郎を探し出し、心霊写真をポストし続けなきゃならないのだからな。
Ah, he's finally here. Biblically accurate Twitter blue checkmark user. When the last season of ReZero came out, I looked like this. When the first season of ReZero came out, I looked like this. When ReZero is being written, I looked like this. It's insane to think that this show first blasting onto the scene, taking over the anime community, was over 8 years ago. ReZero fans have been surviving eating at scraps, but this year we got the start of an all-you-can-eat buffet with its return. They brought everyone back for this one. Amelia, Krush, Felt, Anastasia, Priscilla, Subaru's newly acquired sassy Pokemon, Reinhardt, Julius, them, Let Me Solo Her, even Rem fans were eating this season. If you were one of the people that thought Season 2 was a little slow in plot progression, Season 3 went, don't worry, I hear you, and started off by dropping a nuke on itself. This was a no bullshit, non-stop barrage of chaos. When you thought the situation couldn't get any worse, it does. Just when Subaru learned to value his own life and make an oath not to rely on the return by death mechanic, this pushed that commitment to the absolute limit. One thing goes wrong, then two. Before he can even put out one fire, 10 more pop up. There reaches several parts where you think this is the point of no return, only for the series to hold and keep holding. Then it holds for another whole episode until you want to scream, please Subaru, there is no dishonor in typing FF15. This show has never been shy of introducing wacky, eccentric villains, and yet even this season had me going, good lord ReZero, as I jizz and breathe. Forget introducing one villain at a time, let's introduce them all from the entire spectrum of crazy and deranged to others so despicable, I genuinely hope every time he pees it goes off in 2 streams and they both miss the toilet. They were introducing so many surprise villains, I was expecting one of the episodes to end like,
I was completely wrong, wasn't I? I had the dates wrong all this time. Diddy, come on out.
This was the action-packed season many of us asked for, and the real difference is just seeing how much Subaru is stepping up to the plate. It's been an absolute pleasure to see how much this is not the same Subaru we all recognized from the beginning, and now the dominoes are set up for him to knock them down in the most emphatic way possible in this arc's conclusion in 2025, and you bet your ass I'm gonna be there. In the world of anime, there is no place more brutal, more cutthroat, more bloody than the romance genre. Girls duke it out in the battlefield of the protagonist's heart. Tears are shed, hearts are broken, blood, protein is spilled. But as we all know, there can only be 1, 2, 100, 0 winners, while the losers are there just left to rot. But this year, too many losing heroines saw all that and went, you know, just because a girl lost doesn't mean she wasn't best girl in the show. And anime girls with short blue hair deserve to be the main heroine for once. And cute tomboys and awkwardly shy chicks deserve their time in the spotlight too. And I want a little sister who's way too overprotective and calls me Oni-chan because I love my little sisters. Too many losing heroines was the answer to all of that. It looked at romance anime and said, I'm tired of this single elimination bullshit. Where the hell is my losers bracket? And losers is all we see. 1, 2, 3 girls, all rejected by the man they love, coming together to form enough copium to rival the average Man United fan. We've seen romance anime where a girl loses, accepts her defeat, and that's the end of it. But this asked, what kind of reaction do we get after that point? Yahoo! This was the greatest hits montage of the saddest and funniest coping mechanisms people can find themselves when they're just in their lowest points. It's messy, it's emotional, it's sometimes just hilariously pathetic, and in between all of them is the victim of their non-consensual trauma dump. When I first saw this setup, I thought I had the show all figured out. Oh, here we go again, a laid-back, reserved guy paired with some loud, energetic, Genki anime girl. Wow, that's a trope I've never seen before. But as you watch, it doesn't play out how you think. The trigger never gets pulled, the patented anime blush scene never happens, and all we're left with is a guy forming a real friendship by just letting these girls feel like they don't have to deal with all of this alone. Too Many Losing Heroines was a different kind of rom-com in a highly competitive year full of them. There's a genuine sense of community with the cast as you're able to laugh with them at their highest points and really feel for them at their lowest. It's a show that knows when to laugh at itself and when to take itself 100% seriously, selling you on all these emotions: anger, emptiness, denial, that knee-jerk conclusion that you just lack any self-worth, all in its 12-episode run. Losing Heroines was a different kind of rom-com in a highly competitive year full of them, and I say this as someone who's just not as interested in high school romance shows anymore. As a 34-year-old married man, there is just far less for me to relate to nowadays. Even if a show is decent, any school romance is going to have a hard time getting on my list. It can't just be good. It can't just be great. It's gotta be bloody fantastic. Modern romance anime has an epidemic. I don't know when it started, but it felt like I woke up one day and 90% of them collectively agreed to do exactly the same thing. Let's just make a guilt-free, comfy show with minimal conflict, drama, and progression showing daily interactions of some shy guy and a girl. Except the girl has the thing. You know what I mean? The thing. Maybe she communicates in Russian. Maybe she's just legally fucking blind. Maybe the thing is that she has undiagnosed schizophrenia. Where the hell did this all come from? Some call this an offshoot of the teasing genre, some call it comfort romances, and some call it bait for lonely dudes who get no bitches and stack no paper. With how much this is all blending together, I'm starting to call this shit the isekai of the romance genre. And now I'm doubly convinced I'm never going to be able to look at one of these shows the same ever again because the dangers in my heart completely blows all of them out the water. No hooks, no gimmicks. This was just the purest depiction I've ever seen in anime of two people falling in love. Now, a wise man once said,
I think love is just like cringe.
and you know what? I stand by that. We can do some cringe-ass shit when we think we're in love. It's that winky face you sent to that person once that keeps you up at night wondering why you thought it was a good idea. It's that corny shit we clowned on in love songs, but secretly you wanted to feel just once. It's that dumbass joke you nervously blurted out in front of them that had everyone looking at you funny and made you want to crawl in a corner and just disappear. But it didn't fucking matter when you realized that they were the only one that laughed. That is the dangers in my heart. This isn't about the chase. It's not about the will they, won't they. It's about two people slowly discovering a form of comfort that only the other person can provide. Not just someone that fills that hole of companionship, but the one person who can break down that bullshit barrier you put around yourself and accepts you for that person you're scared to show the outside world. Here are two people just genuinely becoming the best versions of themselves when they're with each other, and God, isn't that what it's all about? This didn't feel like some crush. This didn't feel like some contrived anime love story. This is romance in its purest fucking form and a reminder of what falling in love should feel like. In the race of modern great romance anime, you've heard of Kaguya-sama Love is War? Well, get ready for Yamada-kun Love is Cringe. Girls Band Cry has girls in a band that... Anime is not new to the girl rock band concept. It all started in 2009 with Girls Band Chai. 2 years ago saw the uprising of the highly beloved Girls Band Shy, even tangentially in shows like Angel Beats that gave us Girls Band Die. We know what dynamic to expect. Cute girls doing cute things, chasing their dreams, trying hard while having a jolly good time making new friends, and aww, look how adorable they are when they interact with each other. And then there's Girls Band Cry. These aren't your pristine, perfect idol girls. They argue, talk shit to each other, throw tantrums. Our main girl Nina has a public outburst, gets told to be quiet, and calmly responds by throwing a fucking lamp at him. Nina is your average New Yorker, but it's this brutal honesty with each other that makes this show feel so real. Their friendship seems so genuine. The drama is not some cutesy nothing burger. Every person is carrying some trauma, a character flaw they live with. These girls act like girls. They can come off as childish, they can make naive decisions on their journey, and they, get this, do not get rewarded for it. This is no fairy tale, no idealistic story about chasing your dreams. This is a down-to-earth look at the harsh reality of staying true to yourself no matter what the world is telling you. But even so, they refuse to betray their character. These girls embody the true spirit of rock, both its ups and its downs, and it's through watching their struggles do you get some of the finest drama you can find all year. Ew, isn't this CG? Alright, get the fuck over here. No! I've had enough of your shit. I get that anime fans have a Pavlovian response anytime they see CG, but this is some of the best I've seen outside of Studio Orange. There's not a single moment where something interesting isn't happening in frame. Every movement adds so much character, micro-expressions that perfectly emphasize emotions, and concert scenes that bring the fucking hype to the fantastic music. Speaking of which, ooh, the piano. That piano. Girls Band Cry takes it back to basics. Great writing, great characters, great banter, and devious piano keys that bring joy upon my ears. In this day and age, we've seen it all. Thrillers, gangster stories, pirates, ninjas, knights. It's so rare to see a concept that hasn't been done before. A story yet to be told. And Orb on the Movements of the Earth was all of that, and so much more. In a time when faith was the dominating school of thought, when studying science was the Asian parent equivalent of finding out your kid wants to go to art school, what if you had to prove to everyone that the Earth isn't the center of everything, but we're actually a rock flying thousands of miles per hour through the vastness of space, held down by this invisible force you can't touch, see, or smell? Oh, you think you can do that? I bet you still secretly give Pluto the planet pass when no one's around, you lying prick. Orb isn't just the story of heliocentrism, it's a captivating tale showing how one simple idea can change the course of so many lives. An idea that just won't die no matter how many times you try to extinguish it. It passes from person to person, generation to generation. This story is a testament to the lengths people will go in the pursuit of truth, in the face of adversity, in the face of unimaginable pain. Nothing can cage humanity's desire to look at the universe and go, I understand it now. If Dr. Stone made scientists look cool, this is a full-on celebration of the scientific method. Because when the universe looks down at us and says, I will never reveal my secrets to you, humanity looks up and replies, fuck you, we're gonna try anyway. This is both the brutal reality and true beauty that comes in that pursuit of knowledge. How many people laid the groundwork of research and died just before a massive breakthrough? Are the real heroes of science the ones who come up with the correct ideas, or the ones who suffer the heartbreak of realizing they've dedicated their life work researching down the wrong path and yet still accept it, knowing that the next person will now know what not to do? It's the legacy of all these unsung heroes of science that Orb wants you to think about. This isn't about a life, but the lives of the people that give us the understanding of the world we have today. It never stops reminding us that through every great individual, every achievement, every giant leap humanity takes stands on the back of the work of the people that came before them. No matter what kind of old-fashioned archaic thinking that existed back then that could halt the progress of humanity.
誰もが簡単に文字を使えたら、ゴミのような情報で溢れ返ってしまう。
Wait, hold on a second, this guy might be onto something. It really felt like anime rediscovered its love for pure fantasy shows this year, with Frieren leading the charge with a tale that spoke straight to our souls. We laughed, we cried, and the community replied, damn, that's deep. While all this was going on, another show was cooking with a different approach. It had elves, it had dragons, it had dungeons, but looked at all these monsters and went,
Feast mode activated. Hashtag hungry. FeedMeMore.com.
Dungeon Meshi satiated all our appetites by giving us a different kind of fantasy show, and when I saw this I thought, wow, finally, an anime where people just want to eat monsters and not want to fuck them. It presents itself as a low-stakes, comfy cooking show, then hits you with an attention to detail in its world-building that most fantasy anime could only dream of. From the biology to the concepts, it takes these well-known creatures and reimagines them in a way to give them a sense of credibility that makes you forget that you're watching a fictional story and not some nature documentary. It'll introduce you to these treasure bugs, insects shaped like coins and jewelry that target unsuspecting prey, and you're like, ah, okay, that's kind of like real-life bugs that can perfectly camouflage themselves in nature. 2 episodes later, we see our first Mimic, and if you're familiar with fantasy, Mimics are some of the most well-known monsters responsible for many of your in-game deaths, I'm sure. But here, Dungeon Meshi gives them that believability by imagining them as some giant hermit crabs that gravitate towards chests as their home. Makes sense. But then, seemingly on a totally unrelated note, a treasure bug is found near it. Then one of the characters casually mentions, oh yeah, that's because the treasure bugs lay their eggs on the mimics so the larvae feed on them and they mature in there. And then it clicks. Oh, that's why these treasure bugs conveniently find their way into chests, perfectly placed for some unsuspecting adventurers to find. And this was the exact point. My mind fully comprehended the exact scope of this world building. These aren't just random monsters scattered around. This is an ecosystem where every single thing is interconnected. There is no part that exists solely in a bubble. Every piece of this world has been carefully crafted and interwoven with a level of care that's rare to see anywhere. And you're telling me this level of craftsmanship is being used in a make-believe comfy cooking show? This is the moment when you fall into its trap. Oh! Oh! God fucking damn it. When Dungeon Meshi shows its true hand, you realize the food was simply a vehicle to prep you for what the dungeon really is. This is a brutal environment we are nowhere near close to understanding or taming. This is not your comfy fantasy world. This is a Maiden Abyss-style Lovecraftian nightmare. A world that runs on its own set of rules beyond human comprehension that we have only just taken a single step into. Yet even through this turn, the series never loses its heart. The lovable leads always remain true to themselves. Marcial is still playing Elden Ring, Senshi is playing Cooking Mama, Chilchuck's playing Slay the Spire, Izatsumi just brought Stray, everyone else is trapped in Darkest Dungeon, meanwhile Laios is in the corner going,
FeedMeMore.com.
Dungeon Meshi invites you to have a taster of this living, breathing world, and you forget for a moment that none of it's actually real. It'll lull you into its cozy vibe and smack you round the head when you get too comfortable, and by the end of it, sits you down to enjoy another delectable meal while you reflect on the journey. In summary,
Good soup.
maybe you've been watching anime for 1 year, maybe you've been watching it for 5 years, maybe even 10, but I'm sure you remember that feeling of watching those first 10 shows. That excitement of discovering this whole new medium where everything felt fresh. It was a place that operated on its own set of rules, not bound by the ideas you were used to. There was a weirdness to it you couldn't find anywhere else, and every new episode you watched, something unpredictable lay just around the corner. I've been watching anime for 20 years, and dun took me back to those times. Shonen Jump is a place where its formula for success has been repeated over generations, so when a new title gets adapted, we normally know what the rules are. And Dan starts by taking that rulebook and setting it on fire. At first you think, okay, it's another battle shonen. Then you realize, hold on, it's actually a rom-com. No, sci-fi. Wait, it's a supernatural. Maybe actually it's even a horror. You go through this entire notion before it even occurs to you that 90% of this show revolves around some dude getting his balls back. This is what happens when you throw everything against the wall and say, fuck it, we ball. You could be the strongest observation haki user and still be unable to predict what happens next. When you expect it to go forwards, it goes sideways. When you say jump, it asks, it exudes this childish freedom of expression you forget how to do as an adult, and the most incredible thing is that somehow, someway, it is able to take all this chaos and keep everything cohesive. This is a show that can make you laugh, make you cry, make you hype, leave you in absolute awe in some of its most beautiful moments, all while staying true to its own special brand of weirdness. In the sanitized, safe, risk-free world of modern entertainment, watching this reminded me of the childish excitement I should feel when watching a new anime. And the only thing holding this from the top spot is that we've barely taken a step off the starting line.
You know, if I'm being super honest, I don't even like drawing manga. It's a pain in the butt.
Then why do you draw, Fujino?
If you would, for a second, indulge me on this anecdote I think about a lot. It's 3 AM in the year 1988. An audio engineer in Hawaii is picking up after a late night of work when his phone rings. On the other end was a local musician who asked if he could come in and record something. Of course, the engineer told him that he was closing and they could easily come in the next day, but the guy pleaded to let him record this idea he desperately wanted to see through. 15 minutes later, that person came in. He played one song, one take, and it was over. For years, that recording would lay dormant, only to actually be released 5 years later. That guy was Israel Kamakawiwo'ole, and that recording was his now world-famous rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. This story has always stuck with me. For anyone who's ever created something, sometimes you have that project, that idea that hits you when inspiration strikes and refuses to leave. You'll think about it when you're taking a shower, when you're having lunch, when you're working on anything else. Like a parasite, it festers in your mind waiting for you to materialize it. And you know you have to see it through. Not for money, not for clout, not for any sense of personal responsibility, but because you just need to. On every single level. That is the exact feeling I get when watching Look Back. a need to make, a need to create. Look Back was many things. It's a love letter to the creative process. It's an exploration to why people make art. It's a homage to some of the most tragic events that have happened in the industry, but more than that, there is this overwhelming sense of an author coming to terms with his own personal struggles, speaking directly through these characters that he's created. Coming from the mind that gave us Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man, this was a shockingly simple, soulful tale of two artists and their journey of creating for each other, creating for money, creating for pride, creating for themselves. This is a film that encapsulates the entire spectrum of emotions for anyone who's ever made anything, in a way only someone who's felt the depths of those feelings could portray. That excitement of finishing your first work, the struggle of knowing you can do better, that deep insecurity that you're just inadequate, the euphoric explosion of having your work recognized, the emptiness you feel when you've forgotten why you started this journey in the first place, and that moment when you doubt it all and ask, was it all worth it? In 1 hour, this film packs more emotional depth than most anime can fit in an entire season through simple, beautiful storytelling. It felt like a story that was made simply because someone needed to put it all out there. It's jam-packed full of the rawest human emotions, like you're watching somebody scream from their soul. Lines that feel so intimate, you're unsure if you're watching two characters talk to each other or a person having a conversation with themselves. This is the kind of personal story that's so rare to experience, and when I see someone laying themselves bare, it's hard for me not to be deeply moved. I've experienced this story 3 times now, and every time has given me something different. I read the manga and cried at the pure beauty of the storytelling and emotions on display. I watched this in theaters and cried experiencing this story again so perfectly brought to life. I put this on when it got its home release and cried feeling such a profound connection to what the creators must have felt when making this, and after every single time, without fail, it gave me a reminder of why the hell I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I'm sure some of you may think that putting a movie as my #1 anime this year feels like a cop-out, and yeah, it kind of is. I often try to make it a point to keep anime films and series separate. I've never put a movie in any of these rankings before, but no matter how much I reflected, no matter what other shows I put here, nothing else felt right. It had to be Look Back. Not because I wanted to give it exposure, not because of some review score, not because of any arbitrary qualifications. I put it here because simply, I just needed to.